So, guys, not quite the way we wanted to finish the season, but a bit of a wounded squad in the end. But so, how well do you think you did, considering the circumstances?
Best thing that happened was a full-time whistle and the season stopped. That's it. That's the only time I've looked forward to it. And since giving up playing, going and coaching and management, I've never, ever wanted a season to finish quick enough. So that's it. Hard work starts probably Monday when we start targeting players, speaking to players, and all I will say is there's a few in there that won't represent this club again. And unfortunately, if left me and Jamie, no other situation. That's it.
So, with existing players as well, have you already started doing the talks for keeping players on, or is that something you're doing Monday as well?
We've spoken to players briefly, to be fair. I think it was a little bit, we didn't know what league we were going to be in, that sort of things. But I think, as you said, we were very clear with the identity and the idea of what we want to be able to produce and certain players and targets, and we had that since December when we first came in. So, people are under contract, we couldn't move people in and out, it's difficult to move people mid-season, but, now we can, stop talking about it and get on and doing it, and that's what we need to do. And so hopefully we'll do that sooner rather than later.
And well, staying on the recruitment subject, is how big an overhaul are we looking at over the summer?
Massive, because there's a lot of bad habits at this club, in the changing room, on the pitch, outside the changing room, from the top to the bottom, and those bad habits need to be stripped right back, and it's got to be right back to the bare bones and rebuild again. And that's what it's got to do. And like me and Jamie ain't daft, we met up the club on Thursday. There's certain names that we know, there's targets that we know, and we do what we feel is right for Bognor Regis Town Football Club, not for individuals. And unfortunately, this season and at the end of last season, I think people have only been bothered about individuals, not Bognor Regis Town Football Club. And to be honest, I'm sick and tired of it.
Obviously, a few under-18s have been forced into the first team after injuries. Is there any of those that would be looking to keep their place in the first team after impressing?
It's down to them. We just having a conversation there, and the under-18s and the young lads have done well for under-18s. But I'm not going to ever knock them because they're doing as well as what they can do, and that's great. But it's men versus boys, and I'm not trying to. The season's done. We've got supporters that have paid good money, supported the team, and we're really embarrassed. To be honest with you, we've been here on many times on last day seasons trying to win championships and playoffs, and we're getting murdered by Hendon, who look like Brazil. There's so many things fundamentally wrong. Some of those players haven't been helped by some things that we could have done and brought people in to help them. I accept that, but fundamentally we've just been murdered by Hendon, who are getting relegated. So that tells me, if you want to play for the club, you've got to work hard and do all the ugly things and things like that. So it's a massive job for us. So we're fully aware of that.
And I know it's early days for next season, but what are your overall targets going into step 4?
Put a smile back on my face. No, look, it's like me and Joe, we're not daft enough. We know if people think that we're going to turn around and in July go, we're going to win the league, this, that, and that. It's not that easy. You've got to have more respect for the other clubs there, because whatever league you go in, if you go in the South East, you might have Sittingbourne there, who's got through to the quarter-finals of the FA Trophy, got beat by Aldershot. They only just lost out on the league. You've got Margate, you've got Ashford, you've got Burgess Hill, you've got some great clubs there. Then if you go in the Southern Central, you've got historic clubs like Kingstonian, Leatherhead. Do you know what I mean? You've got some good clubs there. So it's very disrespectful for you to say that. One thing we know is it ain't going to happen overnight, and we might get players in next year that we're using as a stepgap to get to where we need to be. And that's what it's got to be, because we've sat down, we've got the budget. The budget isn't the biggest budget in the world. We all know that. But they should want to play for the club. And if they don't want to play for the club, I don't want them paying for a paycheck or a brown envelope. Without being horrible, they could just not waste my breath on them. Don't want it. I'm not interested.
Excellent, thank you.